Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from Reality Art Pod, here to talk about Survivor Season 46, Episode 13, titled Friends Going to War. We made it to another season finale. Thank you to everyone who joined me along the way. Before I dive in, I put a link in the description so you can go back and catch up on any recaps that you missed. If you like the content, consider liking and subscribing. But let's dive into it. Where we left off, Q became the 4th player in a row voted out with an idol in their Q skirt. We enter with our host, J.E. Double Hockey Sticks. We're down to our final 5, Charlie, Kenzie, Maria, Liz, and Ben, in a 3-hour showdown for $1 million. After the last tribal, Maria asks Charlie to talk at the Q isolation boat, where she blames Liz, Kenzie, and Ben for tricking her into turning on him. Maria feels bamboozled, and Charlie feels like he's a big threat. The one and only Liz has slayed her nemesis.
Q, my darling, you got played.
Maria declares that it's game on and basically it's time to go big or literally go home. The final 5 enter for their immunity challenge where they need to race through obstacles to drop a bridge, get a key, and solve a block puzzle that is a key to a combination lock. These survivors have a lot to do here. They're also playing for another sexy sanctuary reward.
In addition, playing for a reward. The winner will be taken to the sanctuary for pasta,
Caesar salad, garlic bread,
macarons, wine, and soda.
To add no pressure at all, Jeff tells Maria that if she wins this challenge, she ties the record for immunities won by a woman. They get started and squeeze through their net wombs. Charlie gets out first and hits himself in the face with his bucket. His whiplash allows Maria to catch up to him and eventually pull forward into a lead on the puzzle. Out of nowhere, Kenzie starts bodying her puzzle, finishing it first and celebrating like she won, and Jeff tells her to follow the instructions on the puzzle. Kenzie asks Liz for help with her combination, and Liz does Kenzie a favor, going back to the start and getting Kenzie's plank for her. Kenzie and Liz work together to solve the puzzle in an epic girl power moment that ends with Kenzie winning immunity and Liz also celebrating winning immunity. They give Maria her props, but Maria is rightfully devastated and pissed that the girls work together to beat her. Liz tells Kenzie that she's allergic to pasta, so Kenzie takes Ben to the sanctuary and gives Jeff a filthy muddy hug. Kenzie and her island bestie Ben go to their pasta, which looks like it rocks. They agree that Maria's most likely going home unless she finds an idol. Back at camp, Charlie is buttering Maria up as a potential jury vote and as an ally if she finds an idol. Maria also game plans ways she can convince people to save her. First, she tries to turn Kenzie against Ben, but Kenzie isn't having it, and Maria still spreads around camp that Ben voted for Kenzie on purpose and runs a whole campaign against him. Liz acknowledges Maria's points as valid, which the editors have a field day with to convince us that Maria has a chance in hell.
If I can pull off this move, I'm gonna win this game.
Talk It Tribal is about Liz helping Kenzie in the challenge. Maria says that she's proud of herself showing up and showing out in a bit of a tribute to Maria that really becomes Maria's funeral, with Ben eulogizing that Maria outlasted, outplayed, outlived, and outshredded them all, and Kenzie openly admits that she's voting Maria out of respect. The music becomes uplifting and mournful at the same time. Maria basically says goodbye to the game and speaks to her kids about how proud she is of herself, and she knows that they'll be proud of her too. She speaks to being an immigrant from Lebanon and how she was raised to be gracious and humble. They get to the votes and everyone is shown respectfully voting for Maria. Jeff asks for idols, and for a second you're wondering if Maria found an idol but they didn't show it. Maria ends up being voted out by a vote of 4-1, with the one being for Ben by Maria, and they give her a standing ovation on the way out. So we have to say goodbye to Maria here, who is an interesting person to analyze. She starts her game running the game with Charlie pre-merge, being in the middle of the girls and guys alliances on Siga. At the time, I highly questioned her decision to turn on the women, but now that I see the big picture, that was not a squad that Maria could ride with to the end of this game. She showed her mob boss tendencies, bossing Jelinski around on that journey, which put her on a lot of people's radar as a potential winner pick. She had a tight grip on the game, and had she made it to final tribal, she probably becomes a deserving winner. For the first half of the game, I really felt like Maria was redefining the mom stereotype on Survivor. I thought it was cool to see her acting like a mob boss and being really cutthroat, but I feel like the last 2 or 3 episodes have been very heavy with the mom content. In the end, Maria's character on the show reminds me a lot of Julie from season 45, just with a few more competition wins. The mission of the duplicitous moms is incomplete. Someday soon, a sneaky mommy will triumph. After Maria's departure, back at camp, they celebrate slaying Maria, and as they're getting to bed, Ben has another panic attack, and there's a montage of Ben struggling and Kenzie helping him. Ben ends up being a really great example of conquering anxiety and accepting support from others. The next day, Ben and Charlie celebrate making it this far as the Dumb and Dumber Alliance, an alliance that we've never heard of until now.
We're friends going to war.
Oop, he said the final thing. They get a clue about their final 4 immunity, and Liz doesn't want to make fire because she has a wrist condition. She shows us her wrists, and the show puts a sound effect over it. But you know what? I'm going to replace it with my own sound effect. Challenge, actress Liz has a new bit.
Will you help an old lady, Charlie?
Ma.
For their challenge, they have to solve a Survivor puzzle, but they can only work on their puzzle while their ball is rolling on a Plinko timer, so they have to keep an eye on their timer, and if their ball falls, they have to wait for it to roll down a track, really slowing their progress. The winner gets immunity and the decision about who will have to go to fire to fight for their life. They get started, and the little elves are working. Charlie ends up dropping his ball, resulting in him being greatly set back. Kenzie, who's tied in the lead, throws her ball off the challenge, setting her back because she has to find her ball in the sand, and Charlie again drops his ball and has to wait. It comes down between Kenzie and Ben finishes first and wins final immunity. Ben attributes his power to supporting his inner child, and it's a great moment for Ben, probably his best of the season, and he gets to decide who to bring with him to Final 3. Back at camp, Ben tells Liz that he wants her to go to fire because she has friends on the jury. Her case is that she's a millionaire and nobody will give her money, and
Right here, my wrist.
Yeah.
but it doesn't work on him. After he leaves, Liz breaks down.
They're on to me, and I'm pissed. Freaking loose-ass wrists.
Ben struggles to decide between Charlie and Kenzie. Kenzie seems cool to go to fire, but Charlie doesn't want to and thinks he already has enough of a resume to win the game without it. The vulnerable players go through various stages of grief as they practice their fire: stress, mania, chaos, anguish. Donna, Lynn, Pat, Shelly, Brian, Darren, and Ulysses. At Tribal, they highlight Ben's story, and ultimately his decision is to take Charlie to Final 3 and send Liz and Kenzie to fire. They head to fire making, and Liz quickly gets a flame, but it goes out. Kenzie is moving frustratingly slow, and these two were really giving me anxiety. Kenzie eventually gets a flame that she can nurture and nearly lights herself on fire in the process. Eventually, Kenzie builds a big enough fire to break her rope, giving her a teary celebration and completing the Final 3, sending Liz to jury.
Tomato, tomato.
After winning, Kenzie points out that her starting tribe Yanu were the tribe that went longest without Flint, and she thought that it would be fitting to go home without fire, but she's grateful and proud of herself. Jeff asks Liz how she feels about being out, and she says,
It was really over for you guys. It really was. I want to beat all of you.
So we have to say goodbye to Liz here, who for the first few episodes was really only being highlighted when she was bragging about herself and how rich she was, calling herself the one and only Liz. I really thought she was going to be an early boot or villain of the season, but as time went on, we really got to see the campiness that is Liz. She added so much comedy to the season, with the absolute highlight being her Applebee's meltdown. She also was obviously a fan and a really good player. She knew people were seeing her as a GOAT and had a lot of motivation to make big moves. The big moves were made, and there was a lot of talk this finale about Liz being a threat to win, with Liz telling them on the way out that she would have smoked them. I feel like we were really shortchanged of a Liz final tribal. I'm so sad we didn't get to see it. And I'd love to see Liz again on TV in any way, on any show. Back at camp, the Final 3 celebrate, and we get opinions from the jury, with Tevin being such a great narrator that was really gone too soon. The perception of the jury coming into Tribal are that Ben played an honest, loving game, but that he didn't really play the game. They feel Kenzie played a great social game and everyone likes her, but they want to see what she did in the game. Charlie has his whole resume written in the sand, and the jurors say that Charlie is a challenge beast who definitely played the game and they're ready to hear about it. The jury also looks so effing good. Go off, mommies. Tiffany starts Final Tribal off, telling them they don't want to hear Taylor Swift lyrics or pop culture references. They want serious answers only, and asking them for their big move of the season. Ben says his big move was joining up to vote out Q. Charlie commandeers Ben's answer to make it about himself and discount Ben, which I don't think was necessary so early. Charlie then says his big move was taking out Hunter, and Hunter points out that Kenzie actually was the one who tricked him. During Kenzie's answer, Q interrupts her and makes an ass of himself, and she handles that interruption with class. When asked about mistakes they made, Charlie boasts about being in the Journey 6 alliance, and Hunter tells him he shouldn't be bragging about being in that alliance. Kenzie owns her mistakes and has a really strong idea of her game, which makes Charlie squirm in his chair. Around midway, Ben is flopping and is a non-factor. Kenzie's giving the jury everything they want, and Charlie is giving calculated, terrible answers. He even admits that he wouldn't have sent himself into fire at Final 4 because he was so confident he would win the game. When Q asks them what they do with the money, Ben gets a platform to promote his cause, Young Musicians Unite. Charlie wants to donate and pay for law school, and Kenzie says she's been working since she was 15, and she employs people and wants to use this money to invest in herself and start her family. They get to voting, and it's clearly a split between Kenzie and Charlie. In the end, by a vote of 5-3, Kenzie is declared the winner of Survivor 46. I'll talk about the final 3 in a minute, but first, they had the after show where Charlie was very pissed. Maria explains that she voted for Kenzie over Charlie because Kenzie's a competitor with a great story. The rest is really chatter. Y'all know I'm not a big fan of the after show. It's way too fresh in their minds for them to really reflect. So let's talk about the final 3, starting with Ben, who didn't really do much this this season. I'm sure there were casual viewers who forgot he was there a lot of the time. For the whole game, he was in good graces with the power players. Because we're always seeing other people's strategies, it makes us feel like he's being dragged along, though he seemed to be branching out from his original tribe and making bonds at least with Kenzie. As a player, he was pretty ineffective. Voting for the wrong person by mistake is actually such a big mistake. I do think his story about his panic attacks and coping with his anxiety, accepting support, and finally triumphing and winning the final immunity, so that was nice. Also, his yellow and green jacket, someone dropped the link, I want that jacket. Moving on to Charlie, who I predicted after last episode would win the season. Charlie and Maria ran the game from the very beginning, with Charlie really coming in clutch and winning that immunity to take Hunter out of the game. We saw Charlie's strategy in confessionals the whole way, and all of it was so good. We got tidbits like him saying the best time to strategize was in the morning. He had excellent restraint in the way that he turned on Maria. It all seemed to go wrong for Charlie in this episode. He was so confident that he was going to win, he didn't see value in going to fire at Final Four, and even admitted that to the jury. He completely came into that final tribal thinking he had the game sewn up and totally underestimated his competitors. I think given a second chance, he could correct some of these mistakes, but the pool for smarty pants male returnees, that's a tough crowd. We may never see Charlie again. And finally, our winner Kenzie, who's definitely a satisfying representation of the season, given that the whole pre-merge was pretty much about the Yanu tribe, and so much of that was told through Kenzie's lens. I was on the fence about Kenzie in the beginning. I feel like the fake idol play with Jess was really overkill and overplaying. As the season went on, we really got to know Kenzie, and I think especially taking care of Ben showed us her at her best, being loving and just a really good friend to him. As a player, she's not the best at challenges. Strategically, she didn't make a lot of big moves. She tried to blindside Tiffany that one time and it wasn't effective. And then when the actual Tiffany blindside happened, she had nothing to do with it. The jury could have given her a hard time about that at Final Tribal, but they swept it under the rug. That speaks to her biggest strength, her social game. She rizzed it up with that jury. Even though she didn't have the best resume, she ate at that Final Tribal. I could totally see her playing again and making a super deep run and being underestimated again and winning again. Also, I thought it was so cool hearing her talking about wanting to use the money to start a family, knowing that she just recently announced that she's pregnant, and I feel like that's a really positive note to end on. That's all I have to say about this episode, and through that, the season. Thank you to everyone who's watched these videos along the way. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribe to my channel. I'll be back in the fall to cover season 40 several. I'm covering Big Brother, which is right around the corner as well, so I'll be around, you know where to find me. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the episode, the winner, and the season. I'm excited to chat with you all there. Until next time, bye!